Whether you agree with him or not, you have to admit that President Trump is certainly making things happen. I have never seen a new administration move the needle so rapidly, not only with regard to typical hot-button issues like illegal immigration and national security, but even in my field of the environment and air quality. The latest bit of that news came earlier this week when the State Department announced they were halting the monitoring of air quality at more than 80 U.S. embassies and consulates around the world. Now, most Americans probably weren't even aware that those data were being collected. That program started back in 2008 at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. And in 2013, that monitor registered a 24-hour PM2.5 concentration of an astonishing 755 micrograms per cubic meter, our NACS is 35. And the Chinese government launched what they call a war against pollution. I confess I don't really know what that means, but it sounds good. So anyway, air pollution's bad, and certainly there are some places in the world with pretty horrendous air quality. That's actually a soapbox issue of mine. I've done a good amount of traveling during my lifetime, and I've come to the conclusion that most Americans don't appreciate how good we have it here when it comes to air quality. But if the U.S. is looking to cut expenses, and given the national debt, which is more than $36 trillion, I think it's an absolute necessity. I personally am fine with cutting ambient air monitoring at U.S. embassies and consulates. No question there is use in having those data, but just like my personal situation, I can't afford everything I want. But this got me thinking outside of the box. What if we backed off on the number of ambient monitoring stations in the U.S. and used modeling to make attainment demonstrations and to come up with background concentrations in future permitting efforts? Now, a quick Google search told me there's about 5,000 active monitors in EPA's air quality system. I did spend a few minutes trying to figure out how much it costs to purchase and maintain and operate those monitors and couldn't really easily come up with a number, but it's clearly many, many millions of dollars, maybe even tens of millions of dollars. Now, this may seem self-serving since I'm a modeler and talking about doing more modeling, but I'm just trying to play a cost savings what-if game here. Modeling is certainly way cheaper than monitoring, and modeling gives you concentrations at essentially infinite more locations than a monitor can. On the other hand, modeling is limited by the quality of the inputs and the capabilities of the model itself, but we do have available to us several different models that have been accepted and blessed by EPA. And there's precedent for this kind of an approach. With the SO2 data requirements rule about 10 years ago, modeling was used to help states make non-attainment area designations for the 1-hour SO2 NACS. So keep in mind, this is a very unbaked idea in my mind here. Again, I'm just tossing it out as an option, a point of discussion. Then again, we've already seen some pretty big changes in how things are being done at the federal level. I think it's safe to say that more are coming. So using modeling to determine attainment status and develop background concentrations for permitting efforts may not be as far-fetched as you might initially think.